Okay. The next one is compassion. I can put on that. No, it's okay, I can put here. Compassion. And what this facilitates is growth. The ability for things to grow. Or for individuals to grow. So the meaning of compassion is, I don't want you to suffer. I don't want you to suffer. Whether you can do something about that suffering or not, it depends on the situation. Whether you have the skill to do something about the suffering is up to the situation. But at least you can have this mind that says, I prefer you not to suffer. So in order to work with compassion, very much it's about feeling the pain and the suffering of others, but it's not rejecting that pain, it's not running away from that pain, but it's staying, it's choosing to stay and to feel the pain, but it's not my pain, it's their pain. But still, you feel that sense of pain, because it's a reflection from them into you. So what that does is it stops you from being so self-absorbed. You know, self-absorption is that we're usually referring everything to ourselves. Me. Okay, so I often say to people, from the minute we wake up, we have a mantra. You know mantra? Everybody's heard of mantra now, right? Don't necessarily know what it means, but they've heard mantra. So everybody's got a mantra, what about me? Right? So you wake up and you think, what about me? In the sense of, I need my coffee or my tea first thing in the morning, right? You have a routine, isn't it? Do you have a routine? Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yeah. So usually, most people it's coffee, right? So, I must have that cup of coffee. Then I'll be okay. Right? Then I'll be able to deal with the day. So we were talking about this in one course in India, and it was an English guy, and he said, yeah, this is me. He said, when I wake up, I must have a cup of coffee, otherwise I get really angry. So he said, I got up, and I switched on the machine to make coffee because, you know, when people are really into coffee, they have a certain brand, a certain roast. It's all got to be made exactly the way they like. So he said, I have this machine, and I switched it on, and it wasn't working. So, you know, immediately there's this feeling, oh, it's not going to be a good day. But there's something I can do. On the way to work, there's Starbucks. So I can stop off at Starbucks, it's near the metro, the underground, and I can get my coffee there. So he gets dressed really quickly, he rushes out the door, gets on the metro, travels so many stops, he gets to Starbucks, and how many people are in front of him? There's about 50 people. So he said, okay, you know, it's not so bad. So he stands in the queue, and he's standing there, and he said, I can feel myself going into a rage where I wanted to kill somebody. Because I haven't had my cup of coffee, but now there's 50 people in front of me, and they're driving me crazy. Because they're saying, I want the froth with the things on top, and don't do this, and I want this sort of milk. On and on and on and on, person after person, and I want this, and I don't want this, and what sort of cake is that, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, this was driving me completely crazy. But he said, then I remembered, I'm exactly the same. When you hear others saying, I want this and this and this and this, it's really irritating because it stops you from getting your cup of coffee. But then you remember, I'm also that type of person. I also want my milk in that sort of way, that coffee in that sort of way. So, compassion and growth is opening your heart and being aware of the problems and the sufferings of others without discrimination, without saying, I don't like this, I don't want it, and wanting to get out of it. So it removes the self-absorption, that sense of me, and turns the concern into, what can I do for you? How can I help you? In which way can I benefit you? So we use the self-absorption, the information that we've gained about ourselves and how we make ourselves happy, we use that same information and switch it around, and we use it to make others happy. So the key phrase for compassion, if you want to work with compassion, is, may you not suffer. May you not suffer. So again, it's something that you can do for a day, and you keep saying this to yourself over and over and over. If you find that your mind has that sort of quality of, may you suffer, may you have problems, I don't like you, so therefore may you have problems, this is the way to counteract that type of negative mind. So the first one, may you be happy, working with loving kindness, not wanting others to be unhappy, then automatically gives you happiness back. The second one, compassion, seeing suffering, not wanting others to experience that suffering, also gives you the capability of reducing your own suffering. Because when you see suffering, if you want to increase the suffering, that's a suffering state of mind. Right? So you see suffering, and you want to increase that suffering, it's negative. So how can that produce happiness for you? May you not suffer. So any suffering, which could be the delusions, so we usually talk about pride, anger, hatred, attachment, desire. These type of minds are the opposite of may you not suffer, because any mind that is negative creates a suffering. So you know, when Buddha was sitting under the tree in Bodh Gaya in India, then he experienced many positive minds and many negative minds, and then by the morning it said it was all completely finished. He just stayed there with all of these positive and negative things happening. And then for 6 weeks he was thinking, how can I teach? Because he'd been through years of study and meditation in order to achieve what he achieved. It wasn't just luck. He sat down under a tree and it just happened. So then he was thinking for 6 weeks, how can I teach? Who am I going to teach? And what should I teach? So this is the wisdom mind, thinking, how can I benefit others? And then he went to Sarnath, which is near Varanasi. It's a long walk. He walked there, and he met some people. And I often say to people, so what was the first teaching that he gave? Because if he was a politician, he would have said, the first truth that I'm going to tell you, people, and follow me, is happiness. Right? If you want people to follow you, you should say, the first truth is happiness. And I'm going to give it to you. So you follow me. But he said, the first truth is suffering. He gave 4 truths. So he said, the first truth is suffering. So we have physical suffering, emotional suffering, mental suffering, right? If you're rich, you have the suffering of worrying about your money, kidnappings, whatever it is, you know. So if you're rich, you have those sufferings. If you're poor, you have the suffering of food, water, shelter. The 2 extremes, right? We're all born, and we're all born with the suffering of being born. And the minute we're born, we're aging, we're going to have sickness, and death is coming. So they're common sufferings that we all experience. Then there's the suffering of you have something that you really love, or a person that you really love, and because of impermanence, you can separate from them, whether temporarily or permanently. So you have to separate. You can't always be together with somebody. And then the opposite, that you're together with somebody that you really don't like, and you want to separate from them, but you can't, like being on an airplane, sitting next to somebody that you really wish you weren't sitting next to. And you say, is there another seat I can move to? And they say, I'm sorry, we're full, you know? So all the way, wherever you're going to Argentina, you've got this person poking you in with the elbow and telling you their life story. And all you want to do is sleep. So, there's various sufferings that we experience. So Buddha said, the first noble truth is suffering. When you understand suffering, and not just trying to temporarily remove it, but to remove it, the causes of it, then what you get is real happiness. Not just this playing with suffering, but you actually remove the cause of the suffering, right? So what we're talking about is, the opposite of compassion is suffering, right? So you see the suffering, but our normal response is, I don't like this, I want to get away from it. But now you stay with the situation and you want to work with it. You want to respond in the way that says, may you not suffer. And this is something active, something that you want to put into the situation. Therefore, helps you to remove your own suffering, your own causes of suffering. And suffering is caused by any confused, negative mind. Buddha said there is 84,000 negative states of mind. We talk about a few, but 84,000. So you can find lots of negative states of mind, and every time that negative mind arises, you can think, there's suffering. And suffering is the opposite of compassion. So every time that negative mind arises, it's now creating the cause of future suffering and is antidoting compassion. So compassion is the antidote for all negative states of mind. Doesn't matter what they are, but it's the antidote, because compassion opens you up to others' suffering and not wanting them to suffer. So to stay open to the sufferings of the world really takes an extraordinary resolve, an extraordinary strength, that I'm going to see the suffering, and I know in most cases I can't do anything about it. But what I can do is wish you well. May you not suffer. I can do that, right? But I may not be able to solve the problems of Africa or India or the earthquakes or whatever it is. But I can stay open to the problems and wish you not to suffer. That maintains your quality of compassion. But when we turn away, what are we doing? No. And many visitors come to India and they see people with leprosy, with no legs, no arms. And, out of guilt and panic, they throw money. Take this money. But they're not looking at the person that they're giving it to, because they don't want to see the suffering. So often I talk to the beggar. What they want is some human response, not to turn away and throw the money. So how do we stay open to these sufferings that we see? You can use your resources to help others who are suffering and to remove their suffering. Then offering homework, the ability to work at home, help some people, the handicapped people, to offer them. This is looking at the suffering of others and then saying, how can we use our resources in order to benefit others? Or you can just stay very limited, and that's not my concern, that's not up to me. For love and compassion, there's a line, right? You're in, you're out. This is the sense of, I like you, friends, family, in. I don't like you, you don't like me, out. All the rest, out. Right? And so there is a line, like this table is the line, so there's the line. And what I'm saying is, this is created by your own mind. Your capability is much greater than the line that you've drawn. But we draw the line and we say, this is what I can deal with. And by mentally working with it, we're not doing anything different. All we're saying is, may you be happy. May you not suffer. But you're starting to work with this line becoming softer, not so hard, not so definite. And so one day, you're able to work with somebody outside of the line. And we have ways of behaving and many, many discriminations. But if we can just move a little bit, open up to a bit more space, and then what are you going to do with that space? Where does the space come from? Not referring so much to oneself, but referring to others. What can I do for you instead of what can I do for myself? This is radical. It's very difficult to do because the habit is me, referring everything to me. But what about if you remove the me and there was just skills that you have that you can use to help others? No me, but skills. And then using those skills to help others with loving kindness, with compassion. How would that be? How would you do that? And then if there was no me in there, there would be no tiredness, no sadness, no lack of self-esteem, no feeling of failure, because there's just skills. And with skills you can help others, or they reject your skills, but it doesn't matter. It's just you've got the skills there, So I think this me, this sense of referring to me, is really the key to changing things. Because the more you refer to me, the more you have problems. The more difficulties arise between you and others. In your communication, in your work, in your home life. When there's a capital M-E, you have problems.